You're now welcome to listen to the voice of Agent G on the next episode of Bermuda You've Been Served. We don't need no education. We don't need no thought control. We're about to serve you some food for thought, but literally we're going to serve you food for thought as well as food for your body and your soul. With me right now, we have one of the ladies from Bare Necessities, and they actually go out of their way to serve you your necessities once a week, different locations, and different products every month. I would like to introduce you to
Tanya Jones.
This is Tanya Jones. She is one of the ladies that actually does Bare Necessities. Before we get into the meat of the conversation, where are we now?
We're on site at Robert Tree location, which is in Carver Pass, Warwick. And we picked this site because it's a popular site for the public. And we're normally here on any site from 12 to 1 p.m. on a Saturday afternoon.
Or until supplies last.
Or until supplies last, that's correct.
Now, what's on the menu this week?
Well, for the month of May, we decided to give cream as a basic necessity.
Okay, what's the necessity of next month?
Cereal.
Okay, so cereal will be the necessity of next month. And could you tell us the locations that you'd be?
Well,
if you know them offhand.
If we know them offhand, next week there will be none because we are supporting Relay for Life.
Mm-hmm.
However, after that we'll be in St. George's, which will be Panoff's Wharf, and we will be distributing cereal to the general public.
Okay. I'm actually going to be there for Relay for Life as well. So if anyone's hearing this and you got a chance to stop by Relay for Life at 9:30 in the morning, I may be one of the mascots, but that's going to be a different subject. What do you see? What drives you to do this? What do you see? Is there a need in the community?
What drives? It's basically having over 20 years experience of seeing need in the community.
Mm-hmm.
That has always driven me. Grew up in a large family with parents that basically taught us how to budget and how to be able to cope
Mm-hmm.
with having a large family, and also from me volunteering at Salvation Army and also cooking for the Feed the Homeless program. I used to see a lot of people come in who had their work clothes on, suits and ties and whatnot, but coming to eat because it's either their rent or their bills, and they have no money to buy food. So that has always been in the back of my mind.
Do you see education being a big part of why some of this is happening?
No, actually, no. Everyone thinks that if you don't have the education, it will set you back. But what we're finding now is you have people who are middle class that have advanced degrees but can't find jobs or find work to some degree. And it's always a case of rent, mortgage,
Medication
if necessary, helping caregivers, and food tends to be at the bottom of the list of priorities, in actual fact.
Now, dealing with myself, I found out that I've got a small medical situation that basically comes with bad diet. Now, could that be sort of reason why Bermuda itself is in a bad health state because of the stress and the situation that we have on Bermuda? And do you see yourself actually partially filling the void with Bare Necessities?
Yes, that question is twofold. In actual fact, diet is a factor because when you look at most organizations that distribute food, they tend not to give healthy food. Even food banks, they don't give healthy food. There's only, I would say, one who gives it or distribute it when they can. It would be the Eliza Doolittle Society. And that's something that needs to be changed. We just recently had Linda's come on board who have made the initiative of having reduced food items. However, people have to keep in mind, if you don't physically have the funds to purchase, how do you expect to have that in your diet? So in other words, you want to have fresh fruits, but you're given, a can of corn when a fresh corn on
You
the
got,
cob
yeah,
that
it would be a lot better.
would be a lot better. So
Now,
diet does play a key.
with the prices of everything going up, but yet the wages are still stagnant. Actually, with the new implications of taxes being coming on board, as well as the insurance companies continuously raising their rates every year, do you see it being harder for the average Bermudian to survive on this rock?
Yes, I don't want to say that's an obvious question or answer because people basically have to go back to basics. What I mean by that is we have to start cooking more, cooking for our families more, and also helping out each other more and buying in bulk. That's one thing. There are various groups that you can contact and join and start purchasing things in bulk. That helps a lot and helps you save money as well. So that's one one possible solution. But yes, I don't like to say it'll get worse because I'm a eternal optimist. But we have to start thinking smarter when it comes to solutions on how to basically keep our family going.
For a piece of advice that you would like to give to the general public on what their next step can be, what would you recommend?
Next step, well, first, realistically look at your budget. Bermudians have always had a very, I don't want to say luxurious lifestyle, but we have to go back and examine our budgets, number one, and reduce costs wherever you can. To me, a luxury is to have cable and basic things like that. If you can cut it out, it will definitely assist you with being able to buy things or get basic necessities that you would need. And that's where we decided to help the community with that because if you don't have money to buy X, Y, and Z, it's an issue. I'll give you a prime example. I dealt with a senior who basically had her pension money given to her after she had paid for her regular monthly bills. She said, "Okay, I have to go get groceries." I'm thinking, well, what did you have to do first? I didn't pry because I don't pry, and I said, "Let me see a grocery list." And she showed me the grocery list, and it had probably half of it was basic items that we were giving away in via bare necessities from the month of January. So I knew we were on the right path of what we were doing, Camda Bean and I.
Hmm. Nice plug there.
Yes.
Yes, Bare Necessities is a group of ladies that's gotten together. They're willing to accept donations of the product of the month. That way they could go to locations and give it away. Everything they give away is free. They're working on making this into a charity, but at the present time, they're actually going out into the community and doing the possible. And if you find it possible that you could actually help these ladies out, don't forget to find them on Facebook, Bare Necessities, and get in contact with them. They'll give you the email address or some way to get in contact with them. Now, for companies, what would be better, to give to you or to employ Bermudians?
A combination of both. You have people that are volunteering, but people at a time in their lives now where they just want to work. They want to be able to have the basic decency of earning a paycheck and going to the grocery store or going to the farmers markets and buying what they need for their household. So it's a combination of both. We need corporate support. Everyone that we have over 400 charities in Bermuda, so everyone is looking for some type of support. But what we say for those corporate donors, in the event that they have a staff luncheon, and if they want to do something in lieu of that, you can buy a couple of cases of cereal or whatever that would help, and just donate it.
Mm.
So that's a solution that would help as well. But people are looking for work, as we know, and I'm quite anxious to see what the statistics are going to be like in December after our census because I believe there's a lot more than 2,500 people out of work. And you have many people who are missing the radar, who are not captured. You have people that refuse to give statistics because they are embarrassed
Or they feel that
they
people would
feel
know the information.
exactly. So a lot of people are very secretive, but there are a lot of people who are suffering silently, and it's unnecessary to suffer like that, especially if you have a family to support.
All right, let me see what time we got. We're done approximately 9 minutes. Um, I've got a question for you. Just before we go, any words you would like to give to governments, both opposition and leadership? What message would you give to them to help out their community?
Um, that's always an
I know
interesting
it
question.
might be interesting, maybe heavy at the time,
Yeah, it
but
is heavy right now. It's hard to say right now. In all honesty, there's a lot of change that has to be done. The current government is doing exactly what they're doing what they're trying to do
mhm.
to make it better. Um,
But a lot of people,
Personally, I think what any government can do is cut expenses. That's what they can do.
yeah, because by the looks of it, our expenses have increased because things are being easier on one side, but is heavy-handed on the other. Now,
Correct.
I understand that the government's trying to get rid of the debt, but the thing is, and I've said this many times before in my past personally, if you can't live in your own country and you spend a whole pile of time surviving, then it causes more issues in the future.
Right.
Bermudians should have the right to live in their own country, not live to survive. Now, I'm going to cut this interview short because everybody's got to run. It's almost 1 o'clock at this location and everybody wants to go to their next venue. So, this is Agent G coming from you from the rubber tree with the bare necessities, ladies. Dealing with the subject of basically being dysphoriated or basically separated from your own country and your own state, and what basically you have to go through as a Bermudian that has absolutely and out to in our own minds positively nothing. You got a lot of church organizations that are trying to help people, that are trying to lend a hand. You have a lot of charity organizations and people giving away food, clothing on a weekly basis. But what makes it hard at times is that a lot of us have pride. A lot of us will actually go without nothing before we ask for help. And the thing is that even when we want to get the help, sometimes it just feels unapproachable because I don't do that, or, I shouldn't have to do that. In some ways, you're right, because you should be able to survive in your own country. We have people from all over the world coming here, working, and they're surviving quite fine. But yet, it's so hard for us as Bermudians at times to survive in our own country. Partially it's from debt, partially it's from medical reasons, partially is because of our underrated education. Now that we need paperwork to wash dishes. So what happens to us? The ones that don't have the paperwork, the ones that don't have the experience, the ones that are basically living off the land. I mean, I don't know if any of you have done this, but how many of you have actually gone to get assistance to help pay for your bills that you can't afford? And all the paperwork and all the questions. Then if you don't have a job, you got to fill out paperwork every single day by going around asking for, if somebody could hire me, please hire me, please hire me. And then you got a list of rejections. Nothing but rejections. We don't need you. We don't want you. We're not hiring. You're overqualified. You're underqualified. You don't have the experience. I mean, it is very hard for a Bermudian to actually make ends meet if you don't have the ends to meet. I came up with an idea myself to actually help get people out of debt. It was Bermuda Against Debt Times. Still something in the making and something that I need help with. But what happens is that instead of getting something for free, what I want to work on is actually getting people's bills paid and get them out of debt. what happens is that, number one, you get a fresh start. Number two, you get the monkey off your back. And number three, if you are working, you could start being able to afford to live in your island instead of surviving. And if you don't have a job, then you could use the experience from you working with us to show somebody that I am dedicated to work. I am dedicated to be a paid worker. And I want a job so I could not have to live like this. We live on a 23 square mile island in the middle of the Atlantic. And we don't have many means to go by on this small place. You got a lot of people still suffering, living in caves, going to shelters every day. And a lot of people just sit back and say, well, why don't they just get a job? If it was that easy, everybody would be doing it. You got young people just coming out of school that have no ambition to really push forward. So they just wait and wait and wait. How many of you got 20 plus year olds literally still staying in the house? How many of you actually have a talent that you could definitely use for a small business and you're still trying to figure out how to make it work? Well, here's some options for you. You could try to operate a small business, take a small business loan with one of the Bermuda companies that are here that's trying to really push local business, and try to do stuff on your own. It's only one small problem. Certain people will not work with you because you're not established. So you got to try to get your foot in the door by networking, talking to people, and getting sponsorships, getting those first contracts. I mean, even I'm trying to do it just by using my talents of talking to actually see if I can get this podcast sponsored and worked on for people, by people. That way, we have a positive message for our people, to really want to work things out and network. Now, if you don't have that, then, there's there is a works organization trying to get Bermudians into jobs, trying to have a census done of people that are looking for work, what kind of work they're looking for. They can even take it to immigration and say, look, we got people that could do this job. Is there anywhere that's pliable for them to work? But sometimes it's hard, even if you do get the job, because there's so much of a bar that's raised above your head to say, look, I want you to do this, that, and the other at this point in time, blah, blah, blah. Don't even think about sick days or holidays, everything else. I just want production, and I want you to work. And you better be here on time. You better do your job. You better do this. Sick days, family issues, we don't care. We just want productivity. Not all bosses are like that. Not everybody's like that. But you have some that set the bar to the point where just come in, work, go home, and be ready for the next day. Don't let your personal life get into the way of you doing work. But if something happens to your spouse, to your kids, it becomes an issue. And it becomes a hindrance. And they're not making money. You're not doing your job. You're not, and it becomes an issue, and they just find some way of getting rid of you or letting you go. It's hard. I would like to ask you, I would like to ask a question. How far would you go to make sure that you and your family's okay? Are you still with your family? Are you planning on living abroad because there's nothing else for you here? Have you moved abroad from your native home of Bermuda and you found it better on the other side? How about this? Would you sell your freedom, sell drugs, prostitution, anything to make ends meet. How far does your desperation have to go for you to literally go off the deep end? How many of you whose desperation is high, you want to get away from it all and you rather smoke, drink, to get rid of the issue, just to wake up and find out you still got the same issue? You take pills, smoke, heroin, crack, doesn't matter. How about the person that goes and does drugs and say, it'll be easier for me to sell drugs than actually work a 9-to-5 job, pay my bills? How about my mother? How dispositioned you are in your own country, where you survive to live while others live to survive. You got people out there willing to help. Many government organizations, many private firms. It is up to you to help yourself and in your endeavors and do what you got to do. Number one, we need a trade school back to start teaching people the trade and the economics. We were smart people back then. We were standing up for ourselves. We got things done. That all ended to make sure you stay where you are. But if you looked at the foresight, it was actually cheaper if that school stayed up than if it was taken down. When your own people are disenfranchised in their own country and thus stuck doing what they have to do, there's a big price to pay. So for all the listeners that are listening to this, Bermuda, you have been served again. There's something for you to digest. Because you got people out there that have the money and the power to make things change. While you got other people out there that feels absolutely hopeless. And they'll rather just do what they got to do by all means necessary. Great man said that once. By all means necessary. To a lot of people, it's taken out of context. But you got to take care of things. You got to get the job done. I don't condone any bad boy behavior out there. Not a bit. But if you got to do what you got to do, you got to remember, we have to work together to make things get done and let us all survive and live together. I said in one of my earlier podcasts, stop being a crab in a bucket. Stop pulling each other down. Because this leads to even more depression. The more you pull that people down and become a bully to people and say you can't do this, you can't do that, they shut down and don't want to do it. They sit over month by month, collect a check, live by minimum means. Man, they even had a song out. It's the end of the month and everybody's cashing their checks and giving it to dope man. Just so they could feel good about themselves and get that fix or that high and get away from reality. I live with reality every day. The messes, the cleanups, the telling offs, the I told you so, you shouldn't have done it. I want to bust through that ceiling. I want to bust through the ceiling of a lot of you. I looked at a podcast, one of the Mr. Harvey. He did one of his shows and said, everybody's born for gift. But for you to use that gift, you got to do something first. You got to jump. When you jump forward and you use that gift, it could be doing podcasts, it could be washing dishes, could be mowing the lawn, could be a singer, could be a writer. You use that talent and you jump with it, the sky's the limit. But if you let people get to you and you can't utilize that talent, you're a statistic. Oh, that last part was my words. Just another number, another name in the wind. Bury you. Let's take it to another level. You don't have it? Get together. Make it happen. Find somebody that will build you up instead of take you down. Find that boss that's been willing to help you. At the same time, you get to work. You look your best. You do your job. You get there on time. You leave with the attitude of a champion. Don't drop the ball. Don't cap an attitude. Try your best. Rewards will come with hard work. Yeah, you gotta ask any Portuguese that. You got guys down here clean toilets, did lawns, day in, day out. Now they're in the company. People say the exact same thing about the Mexicans in the States. Work ethic. Stick to it. But at the same time, they got people there that work together. Family, friends, everybody bands together. You couldn't have two Bermudians in a conversation for 15 minutes without them yelling at each other. That's something to say in itself. So, you heard what the lady said earlier about people trying to help people. Giving as little as we can, what we could afford. While at the same time, we still got to pick each other up. Not by just deeds and items and food, but thought as well. Praise each other. Wave to your neighbor. Say good morning, good afternoon, evening. It goes a long way. If you don't believe it, that small little kind act could change somebody's life. This is Agent G signing out again for another episode of Bermuda. You have been served.